Hello, this is Adriane Berg, and this is the Ageless Traveler. And I cannot believe it, but now in 2025, this is my 40th year broadcasting to you one way or another. And I am so delighted that something called a podcast is here with us because I can answer all of your travel questions. Now, if you've been a fan, if you've been a listener, then you know that we generally interview somebody on every one of our shows. But I'm inaugurating the new year a little bit differently. This year, for this particular episode, I'm going to be answering your questions. And there's a reason that I'm doing that. We have a brand new technology for you. It's called Fan List. And for those of you who are watching, you see that scroll right in front of you. And for those of you who are listening, you'll see it on the show notes. And it allows you to ask me questions. And not just me, but all of our battalion of experts on travel. And the reason I'm inaugurating this is I'm a little bit nostalgic. For many, many years, I was on WABC radio and WMCA, the Good Guys station, and also syndicated by Westwood One. And my shows were all, over all those decades, call-in shows. And I was able to answer your questions on the spot. Well, I'd love to be able to do that on a podcast as well. And soon there will be such technology. But for now, I need you to either text me or voicemail me with your questions. And I've been promoting this for about the last 6 months. And I have gotten questions and questions and questions. And today I'm going to answer the top 10 questions that you asked me about travel. And some of them, well, I expected, but many of them were very surprising. Let me start with one that I actually expected. Now, a lot of you know that I take very long trips. 3 months, sometimes a little bit more. I just came back from 1 month in the South Pacific. You're going to learn all about the wonderful islands, how you can visit them best in the next couple of episodes coming up. But because I do go away for so long, and I generally travel with my husband, there are two of us, the question is always, how do we pack? Well, I wanted to give you a few hints and tips. For those of you who are retired and are taking long-term travel, for those of you who are taking those cruises that are going on seemingly forever. I just saw one that was 54 days. And for those of you who are younger and are just taking your gap year, well, what do you put in your backpack? What do you put in your suitcase? How do you really make that work? The answer is pretty simple. I have a 3-step process. First of all, I pledge to myself that I don't need everything. There are so many things that I can buy today. I just came back from Tonga. It was a time when you couldn't do anything, and there you could still, now you can still have your McDonald's, and you can go to CVS or its equivalent and get everything you need. So please remember, you do not have to take the house. Second, I do use little devices like silk bags that zip. Now, not only does that keep your clothing better so that it doesn't wrinkle, and not only does it help you pack more, but more importantly to me, it's a 1-minute unpacking. You just take them all out. No, I do not use the specialized ways of folding a sweater. Yes, they're brilliant. There's a lot of YouTubes out on great ways to fold for packing. But frankly, I just don't have that patience. I put everything in these little bags, and I do separate them by climate. Because many times when I go away for a long time, and if you do this, it'll be the same for you. I'm in cold weather and I'm in very hot weather in the same trip. So one of the really important things about segregating your clothes for climate makes life very, very easy. Now, the other thing that I do is I use hotels. Let me explain what that means. If you're away for a long time, and particularly if you are spending several weeks in one place and several weeks in another place, one thing you might want to do is take the materials that you know you won't need on the second part of your trip. Leave them at the hotel. You can usually take these little bags that I'm talking about, and there will be pictures of them on our website, agelesstraveler.com, so you'll know exactly what I mean. You can buy them in Walmart. You can buy them at Target. They're very easy to find. You can put them in a shopping bag and simply leave it at a hotel. They will store it for you, many times for 3 and 4 weeks, free of charge, so long as you stayed with them in the first place and you come and pick it up. If you're staying with them after your sojourn elsewhere, they certainly will store it for you. So these are just a few of the ways that you can pack for long distance. I will tell you this, even today, I take too much. So be careful. You don't have to overpack. And I will tell you that my husband is the king of the laundries. He probably knows where there's a laundry in every island. If there was a penguin that needed something laundered, he could find one in Antarctica. The fact is that, yes, do you have a long trip and figure in laundry time. That's the way it's done. I mean, it's practical. It ain't pretty, but it works. Finally, perhaps you don't want to schlep your own luggage. If that's the case, listen to this. We do have a great relationship with Luggage Free. That will ship your luggage anywhere in the world that you want. So don't you go anywhere. If you take long trips or travel through different climate zones the way I do, you don't want to schlep a lot of luggage. Well, Luggage Free ships to many of the hotels in the world and mostly all the cruise ships. I've been recommending Luggage Free for years to my friends and family, and I always hear the best rave reviews. So you visit agelesstraveler.com products and services to access Luggage Free, get all the information, and stop schlepping. And now that we're back, I want to address a question that's a very serious question. There are a lot of people, and I will admit to you that most of the people who wrote in and asked this question were women who have lost their travel companion. Now, you know that the Ageless Traveler is here to break down barriers to travel. And one of those barriers as we age is loss of our companion. Well, there is such a thing as solo travel wisdom, and I'm very proud that this year for 2024, the Ageless Traveler won the prize from Journeywoman, a 27-year-old organization catering to solo travel. And the question that I've been getting is, I'm going to travel by myself for the very first time. What is your suggestion to ease into this? Many times it's a widow or widower asking me these questions, or somebody who's lost their long-time travel companion. Well, I do have a very practical answer to that, and that is the river cruise. I've thought about this a lot, and I have met many people on river cruises, and one particular woman stays in my mind. She said to me that she was very frightened. She did not want to cruise alone. She didn't want to go even on a solo tour, of which there are so many, as I give you the one example of Journeywomen, who puts together tours from many tour operators catering only to solo travel. But she didn't want to do it. It kind of broke her heart. She didn't think that she could have a good time or even mingle with anybody. And I was so happy to hear on that cruise, I was actually standing with her and looking at the beautiful water. We were on the Danube. It happened to have been Theatrical Adventures at Sea, one of my favorite cruise lines, where I go a lot because I love music, and that's what they have in the evenings, Gilbert and Sullivan music. And she said, I met everybody. This has been terrific. And the reason was very simple. It was a very small group of people. So I would recommend to you, if this is your first time, I've discovered that it really is the small group river cruise that makes it easiest to ease yourself into traveling by yourself. And for those of you who are interested in meeting each other, please do join our Facebook salon. We call it a salon because we share ideas and we learn to travel together. One of the great barriers is that many of us continue to travel and our companions don't, or we've lost our companion. Well, this is a way to do it. Now, I will also tell you that I just heard a wonderful podcast from Travel World, which is the podcast for people in the field of travel, that this idea of solo travel for women is growing and growing and growing, and everybody is catering just to this. I believe Uniworld just put together a special solo tour for women on their river cruise. So be aware that this is growing, and most important, you're not alone. We're here for you. And now, a little bit more news you can use. Don't you go anywhere. Here at Ageless Traveler, we're very interested in breaking down barriers to traveling. And one of the things that you told us is that if you are a caregiver, you find it very difficult to get away for respite care yourself and very difficult to navigate those airports, cruise ships, and any kind of tourism with the person that you love. Well, we fixed that for you. We have a free ebook, The Caregiver's Travel Guide. It might be the first in history, and it is absolutely free. Please go to caregiverstravelguide.com and get your free download of this remarkable book. You can travel without your care recipient with peace of mind, travel with your care recipient stress-free. You will learn exactly what you need to do to navigate the tough spots, everything from hydration for both of you to the way you should be packing, and of course your legal rights, your insurance needs, and all the questions answered that you had nobody to ask. And that is the Caregiver's Travel Guide. You'll find it free of charge to everyone. Caregiverstravelguide.com. And now we're back, and I'm actually going to cut through 3 questions you ask me all the time very quickly, because I want to get to what, I guess, the real reason that I started this podcast. Many of you have one barrier to travel, and that's money. So we do have a fully developed ebook for you. It's always free. It has 75 websites, and it gives you my hints and tips. I'll give you just a couple. One is I love freighters. I love canal boat rides. It doesn't always have to be the most expensive kind of transportation. We give you the very best ways for you to put in an alert service free of charge so that if an airline fare goes down, you'll know right away. Or if they made a mistake, they have to abide by it. You'll know right away if there was a low-cost airfare made by mistake online and you can just hop right on it. We give you all of the ways that you can use and compare hotel rates and everything else that you may want to know to save money, plus my hints and tips. And I even give you the schedule that I used last year to be able to travel for almost 4 months at a very reasonable price in Asia. So to get that for free, you simply have to go to luxurytravelforless.info, luxurytravelforless.info. Another question I get a lot is caregivers. Caregivers who are family caregivers feel they cannot travel any longer because they really have an issue with caretaking and their responsibilities. And so we created an ebook for you. It's always free of charge. It's called caregiverstravelguide.com, caregiverstravelguide.com. And we were very fortunate that the great Fromers, and I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I went to Europe $5 a day. Wish I still could. I wish I still had the book. And I had Ebenzoop for 5 cents at the train station in Berlin. And a couple of months ago, I went back to Berlin. And it's not 5 cents anymore for the Ebenzoop, which is pea soup for those of you who don't know. But I learned about that in $5 a day. So Fromers has always been in my heart. And they just published the article on navigating an airport with your loved one, with somebody that has a disability or dementia if you're a caregiver. And I'm going to ask you to please go to that article on Fromers, even if you're not a caregiver, and click on and look at it, because if enough people do that, they'll allow me to publish a series for caregivers to not only allow them to travel, but to allow them more easily to travel with a loved one. And so that's a wonderful thing you can do for someone else, or you may need that information, as so many of you have written to me about. And the reason I just wanted to go through those 2 things quickly is I want to dwell on one question that a lot of people have asked me. Now, we talked about, at one point, a solo traveler, somebody who has to travel by themselves because they've lost their companion. But more often than that, the ageless traveler has their travel companion, but their travel companion has mobility issues and they don't. So they can move faster, they can see more, they can do more sightseeing, and yet the person that they're traveling with cannot. They may need a walker, they may have a cane, they may just be a slower walker, or there's some other issue. What's going on with that? Well, let's understand this. We, people over the age of 60, are slated to take 1.6 trillion trips in the next 25 years. We're the market. And so what is happening is the tourism industry is learning that and understanding it. And almost every excursion, cruise excursion selection, every riverboat cruise excursion selection, and most major tour operators give you two choices on your land tour. One is for the more mobile and one is for the less mobile. Now, we're not talking about a disability right now. We're not talking about a wheelchair or other disabilities, but just a difference in mobility. So take a look and see if your tour from a ship, from a riverboat, land, offers those dual opportunities to see the same sites separately, get together at dinner and share your experiences. That's certainly one way. For the private traveler, you simply use the right guide. You can go to any of the local guide websites and explain that you want to see everything, but at a slightly slower pace, and who is the best guide to take care of that type of thing. And today, many guides actually do write in their resume that they are understanding adaptive, what may be called adaptive travel. So that's the second thing. Now, the third thing is, like me, if you're a totally independent traveler, I have to tell you from my heart, it takes a little bit of patience. If you're somebody who's more active and somebody who's less active, you both need the patience for each other. And a time may come in your life, and this again is from my heart, that you were able to be equally paced, and now you're not. Well, take a look and see where the bathrooms are. There's now apps that allow people who need that more frequently to find out where bathrooms are. See where the benches are. See where somebody can sit and wait for you. And understand on both sides that life makes a change, but it doesn't have to change your travel relationship. And if this has been useful to you, please go on our YouTube, where we have so many wonderful things and so many great experts to answer your questions. And don't forget to ask me your questions on Fan List. We'll be right back because we have some more news you can use. There are many barriers to travel, but money should not be one of them. I have put together a free ebook for you, but please act now. It's available to you only until August 1st of this year. It's called Luxury Travel for Less. You can access it completely free of charge at luxurytravelforless.info. It's the kind of book that really is helpful. 32 pages, 75 websites, and all the hints and tips I use as I travel for 3 months throughout the year on a budget that's very similar to yours. You know, we're all on fixed income here one way or another after retirement, and yet we love to travel, and we love to travel in luxury. No more bad beds for me. LuxuryTravelForLess.info. And now we're back, and I have a question. Let me remind you, if you're just tuning in now, that this is a special show where I am answering your questions, because for, I guess, 30 years, maybe more, I was on the air with a Q&A show. And I loved it. It was a great pleasure for me to meet you and hear your voices and know where you were coming from all over the country. And now I've discovered that on a Facebook salon, we have our first member from New Zealand, which is very exciting. So we are heard all over the world, and you can meet people from all over the world by joining our salon. So how do you do that? You just go to agelesstraveler.com. On the first page, it will say join our Facebook group. Click it. It's free. You're in. And you have a new number of peeps. You have travel peeps now. So I did get a question that surprised me, because there's only one person asked this question, but I have to answer it. Someone was really listening to me when I said that I like to go to restaurants by myself. And I like it because I'm a veteran eavesdropper. Somehow I can't hear what my husband has to say, but I can hear what they're saying across the room. In fact, on our blog at agelesstraveler.com, I have a very funny article on listening to people at restaurants talking about their health. And it's something like, stop talking about your gallbladder, while you're eating a steak tartare. I don't want to hear about your last operation or your boils, but I hear them because I eavesdrop. So I guess it's not my business. But I do like to eat by myself. And maybe psychologically, because I'm an only child and I'm used to it. Many people are embarrassed to go into a restaurant by themselves. They don't know how to do it, but they do want to travel by themselves. So, are there any hints and tips? And you made me think about it, the woman who asked about this question. And I realized I actually do have a few. One is I don't like to be seated near the kitchen. I've discovered that when you come in, particularly perhaps if you're a woman, they hide you. They put you at a table for two, of course, but they hide you in a corner. So one of the things I do is I pick my table when I walk in. That's number one. I like to be in the midst of things, and I like to see something very pretty. The next thing I do, I realize, is I always take something to read. Sometimes that's because I do want the privacy, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm waiting for someone. I want them to know so they serve me right away instead of coming back 20 minutes later and looking at me as if I've been stood up. So that's the second thing that I do. The third thing that I do, and I realize I go to restaurants that have beautiful views. We have in Palm Springs here the Rowan that has a high bar. You go up and you can see it's the only high. I don't know how they got away with it, but they did a 6-story in Palm Springs. It's the only high view place where you can eat in town. But I will go to a place that's really, really attractive to me. And I pick my cuisine. And for many people who are traveling on their own, they love a glass of wine. So that's part of what I do. But I think more than anything else, it's an attitude. We have 2 podcasts on solo travel with regard to the attitude that you have, not so much the place that you go. And I would like you to hear, we have traveling nomads, someone who travels all their life by themselves. We have a wonderful podcast about traveling on a bicycle by yourself through the United States and doing El Camino. So I believe that going into a restaurant by yourself and sitting there has to do with a matter of your own self-respect, that you like your own company, that you don't mind other people to know that it's not a stigma. It's not because other people don't want to be with you. And so it becomes a catalyst, I think, to, particularly as we age, when we become invisible, to see our own visibility as important as having other people see our own visibility. So bon appetit and try it. See, you might like it. And you might hear some incredible stories that, of course, are none of your business. But eavesdropping is fun. And if you've enjoyed this, please do subscribe to our Facebook salon, which you'll find at agelesstraveler.com. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to it. And as always, leave us a nice rating on Spotify or Apple. But for now, don't you go anywhere. I got a couple of more questions that I'm still going to be answering.
Aging is dynamic, and sometimes there is a change in your life. You might find yourself with mild dementia or certain mobility issues. You may find yourself a caregiver to people and you have responsibilities to them, and they have mild cognitive issues or mobility issues. And yet you want to travel. You want to travel if you yourself are in that position or if you're a caregiver to someone, perhaps on your own, or you want to travel with them. So how do you make those arrangements? Well, it's not so easy, but you can find the right type of holiday for you, get the optimal choice of travel for you. You can get all the specific support you need, and you can manage the most wonderful trips of your lifetime. How to do that? Well, you need a consultant, and that consultant we bring to you. Her name is Dr. Carol Sargent. She's on our advisory board. She's the most wonderful lady to talk to, that I can assure you. And you can get all the information about her and access her at the Ageless Traveler. Yes, it's agelesstraveler.com. Travel products.
Now we're back, and I'm very excited about this show because it's my first opportunity to answer your questions on the air. I used to have a radio show on WABC and WMCA and so on. I loved answering your questions live, and I hope that we'll have the technology soon to do it again. But for now, if you have your travel questions, you can still text them to me or send me a voicemail. It's all free to you. All you have to do is go to our website, agelesstraveler.com, podcast page, and you'll see a little red icon there. You can click it, and it'll go immediately to the ability for you to text me or to ask me a question. And today I have been answering some of those questions that I've accumulated in the last few months since I started this program. But I'm also doing that to stimulate you and inspire you to go back and ask me other questions, including very specific ones about a hotel, about a transportation, about what it's like to go on the Orient Express, about how do you get from Dubai to Amsterdam. Remember, I've been to 121 countries and about 30 of them very recently. So please, and many of them over and over again, London 30 or 35 times. So I have the experience. I can't wait to make sure that you never stop traveling. So here are two of my favorite questions. I love these. One is on grandparent travel. Now, grandparent travel is now called skip generation. Why? Because we skipped the generation in between. We got the grandma and the grandpa, one generation, and the grandkids. It's a big deal. And it's something very worthwhile. So we have several shows on that, from an 80-year-old grandma who has been traveling with her children for many years to somebody who wrote a book on grandparent travel and many more. But here are my hints and tips. I definitely use Mommy Poppins. Mommy Poppins is a website, and it covers many parts of the United States, and it has a very in-depth daily and weekly suggestion on where to take kids if you're interested in local travel. I also recommend that you start with local travel. My 6-year-old, I start with a small show in New York. Now, she's traveled a great deal with her parents, but it's not cultural travel, even though she's been to Paris, as she tells me, and Italy and England, and it's great. But there are versions of child play. Whereas my version, as a culture vulture, is to bring her to ballet and to museums and so on. And so you do that locally first, if that's of interest to you. The second thing that you do is there are now tour groups that cater to skip generation. And if you're interested in which ones, please just ask us on our fan list page. But I do want to make an important point with regard to grandparent travel. There's a difference between multi-generation and intergenerational travel. Multi-generational travel is a lot of generations together. And I've even heard that from the travel industry, which said, oh, it was wonderful. The kids had plenty to do. They went scuba diving and they went jet skiing, and grandma had a great time at the museum. And that's what they call multi-generational. That is not the gold standard in my mind. In my mind, it's intergenerational, meaning you both do the same things at the same time. Whether the kids are mentoring you to learn how to surf, or you're mentoring them to appreciate art, that's where the bonding really comes in. You may as well have a group family party if you're all going to do different things at the same time in the same place. But I do want to make that distinction for you, and I want you to think about that. What do you love to do? That's your legacy to the kids. And it may not be what their parents' legacy would be to them. And I hope that you will tune in to some of the podcasts we have for real people taking their real grandkids to intergenerational trips, and use Mommy Poppins as a great start, where the two of you can go together to places, from puppetry to sing-alongs, that really meet both of your needs, fascinations together. And the last question that I loved, it was my favorite, was, how do you eat salt-free? Now, let me tell you, I have a love-hate relationship with my scale. This is the fittest I've ever been in my life. I was a fairly unhealthy and certainly overweight young person up until the age of about 50. And one of the things that it did for me is it gave me bad blood pressure issues. And so I cannot eat a lot of salt. And if you travel the way I do, other people are making your dishes for you, particularly on a cruise where you most likely eat a planned menu day in and day out. So the question was, how do you manage your food? Well, the answer is really very simple. I always work with the food manager. Many people know, but really don't utilize that on a cruise or a river cruise or in a all-inclusive, either way, on land, that there are food managers here. They're there to serve you. Your cuisine concierges. And you meet with them immediately. The first person that I see and speak to when I go to guest services on any kind of cruise or all-inclusive is the food manager. And believe it or not, I get the best meals. They really do pay attention. And I found that to be true across the board. I don't have the oversalted food. Now, I discovered just the other day that many people suffer from inflammation of their legs, cruises or all-inclusives. They don't know why. And then it goes away. They get really nervous and my kidney's failing. What's going on? No, you're just oversalted. And that's the way it's done so that everybody has taste. Now, I'm a little bit miffed, I will say, and I will finish with this complaint that you can find vegan, which is wonderful, it's important. You can find gluten-free choices on almost any cruise or all-inclusive menu. And you can find vegetarian, but you really never see low sugar. Maybe there'll be a low sugar dessert, but that's about it. And even then, maybe not. And you never see low salt. And yet for the older adult, for the ageless traveler, of course, it's blood pressure and diabetes. That's our problem. So I wish you would know that there are millions of us out there. This is just my little complaint from the Ageless Travel Police to have recurring low salt and sugar-free on your menus. And don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I have a couple of questions for you. Do you sometimes experience joint pain or body pain? Do you worry that the airplane rides are too long for you because they really hurt? Or are you concerned that you cannot walk pain-free on some of those great tours you want to take? Well, as you know, the Ageless Traveler has curated several products that we think are great for travel, and they're unique. And this one is Intelligent Threads. It's t-shirts and socks and pants and even sheets, stuff that you could take with you, use at home to be much more pain-free. It is a very unique technology that they use to weave their garments. And you'll find out all about it, how this technology works, and how it can improve not only your day-to-day life, but the ease with which you travel. Simply go to agelesstraveler.com and you will see exactly how to buy them, how to get your discounts because you are an ageless traveler, and what it can do for you. That's agelesstraveler.com. Travel products. Never stop traveling.
And now we're back with the Ageless Traveler here, answering your questions for the first time. I always have a wonderful guest to be interviewed. Repeat that again starting next week. But this particular episode is just you and me answering your questions. And this is the last question that you've asked me. And I've chosen these because they were the most type of questions asked. So please do ask more. And they can be much more travel specific with regard to hotels, airlines, destinations. We're here to serve you with regard to that. And if there's anything I don't know, I've got a battery of experts to help. And the last question was related to the one I just did before our break, and that was all about food. Well, this is all about exercise. Staying fit is not so difficult on any kind of trip because you're usually moving. And you're usually moving more than ever, and walking is the number one most healthy way to maintain your longevity and to maintain your health. So it's not as big a problem as you think. But if you want to maintain your muscle structure and your form and your sculpting shape and all that sort of thing, it's not so easy. But what I do is I take bands. You've seen them. They allow you to lift weights by putting one end of the band under your foot, and then you hold the other end of the band and you move your arms up and down, and it builds arm muscle, There are floor exercises that you can do that don't require any equipment, not even a pad. But for the best of the best, we do have an expert in this, and she's been wonderful. Free of charge, you simply go to Body by Elena and you'll see videos, and she has posted 6 videos for us that you can use when you travel. 2 of them require light weights, but you can also use these no-weight bands instead. The others do not require any equipment whatsoever. So that's our gift to you, Body by Elena. If any of these things have been useful to you, if any of them have helped you to never stop traveling, please continue to listen. Go to agelesstraveler.com, join our Facebook salon, which is always free, and meet each other. Take a look at our free ebooks, which you will also find at agelesstraveler.com, as well as our blogs. And of course, please do go to Apple and Spotify, give us a rating, say how important this is to you, and let us know by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And you know what I'm going to say? Never stop traveling.